off with we were going to talk about Oklahoma City bombing, but because of the untimely passing of Pope Francis,
We're going to do a brief little summary on him.
Abigail's going to do that little chitty chat about Mr. Pope Francis.
Yeah, because he was, as somebody who practiced for a long time, still consider myself Catholic, but don't go to church as often as I should. He's actually one of those people that brought me back to the church. Like, I was going far, far away from the church. I was like, I never want to be near the church or anything like that. And then when he became pope, I was like, you know what? I could see it. I could come back. Why don't you search you?
Getting up there. I'm trying to pull up the comments because, you know, we can't read them on my small phone. So, nope, not that one. Okay, so there's that one.
Rodeo.
Oh, because that's everything else. Mother trucker.
Go to the web page.
Wait, nope. Sorry. I'm trying to. Search on mobile. I can't search on mobile because I'm on my mobile. And drive me nuts. Get on my nerves. I'm trying to figure it out. Okay, you do your thing and I'll figure it out.
So, quickly going to talk about Pope Francis. Since he did pass away, I think it was, I have the exact time. He passed away at 7:35 Central European summertime. So it was pretty early in the morning for us, but it was actually later in the day for them. So yeah. Let's see. Damn. So many people, when they thought that he had passed away, they thought it was due to the respiratory problems he'd been having. Turns out it was a hemorrhagic a cerebral hemorrhage, aka a stroke, which then caught his heart couldn't keep up after the stroke, so he passed away because of that. So because he had been hospitalized with pneumonia for about 5 weeks too, so that's a fun little fact. Pope Francis was actually born Jorge Mario Bergoglio on December 17th, 1936. He was born in Argentina and was the eldest of 5 children. His dad was an Italian immigrant that moved to Argentina during the reign of Mussolini, and his mom was born in Argentina, but her parents are actually from Italy. So his descent and ethnicity is Italian, but because his mom was Argentinian because she was born there, he is classified as an Argentinian. That's why a lot of people debate whether he's the first non no, because I found out some information too about that. So he actually only has one living sibling left.
Oh wow.
So he was the oldest of 5, but he and his sister Maria are the only ones left alive.
Oh, wow.
So when he was younger, he worked a little bit as a bouncer, and then he worked as a janitor.
Sorry, laughing at the bouncer. I'm like, what? Wait a minute.
Yeah. And then he got a technical degree as a chemical technician and worked at a food section of Hichthier Bachmann Laboratory.
Okay.
So when he was 21, he actually got sick with pneumonia, right?
Yeah.
And he had part of his lung excised. In 1955, so he had a part of his lung removed because the pneumonia got so bad. Hence why when he got pneumonia again in his older age, it hit him hard.
Well, you're missing, you mean?
Yeah. So when he was in 1955, he was inspired to become a priest on his way to confession, which afterwards he was actually going to celebrate Spring Day. So then after that, he went to seminary school. 3 years later, in 1958, he became a novitiate on March 11th, 1958. So in 1955, he was like, you know what? I'm going to start the process to become a priest. He became a seminarian, which is essentially you go to school, you learn stuff, and you learn theology and all that fun stuff, and then you choose the section of priesthood you want to join because there's a bunch of different priesthood sections to join.
Yeah.
You choose which one you want to join. You become a novitiate for them, and then after like 5 years or however many years of being a novitiate, you finally become a priest. So like to become a priest, it takes a long, long time.
Oh, okay.
Um, So in 1960, so 2 years later, he officially became a Jesuit priest.
Mm-hmm.
So when Jesuits take their vow of priesthood or brotherhood, because Jesuits don't have to be priests, they can also be brothers or monks. So that means they don't have the same rights as priests.
Mm-hmm.
It just basically means that they can't do mass. They kind of know a lot. They're more quiet. Oh, it's us. Um, they're more quiet. They seclude themselves. They're often
There we
seen
go.
as
Oh.
oh no. The audio, it's throwing me off.
Sorry, I found us.
Okay,
That way
so
we
now
can
we can
see
read the
comments.
comments easier.
Yes.
Um, so blah, 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 blah. He actually admitted during this time when he was a novitiate, though, that he had a crush on a girl, and
Okay.
it was actually making him debate whether he wanted to be a priest or not. And then he was like, you know what, I'm going to take the vow of priesthood.
Okay.
So when Jesuits take their vow of priesthood, they vow poverty, chastity, and obedience,
Mm-hmm.
and they live in religious communities. So they live in communities of only priests. They don't tend to live by themselves.
Oh, okay.
They tend to live with others.
Continue. I'll be right back.
He also got what we consider a master's degree in philosophy in 1960. And then after that, he began to teach psychology and literature in a high school from 1964 to 1965. And then he moved to a prep school for college boys in Buenos Aires in 1966. And in 1967, he became a teacher of the novices and became a teacher of theology. So his whole big thing was teaching. Um, So then he began his last final stage of training as a Jesuit to take the fourth vow, missioning for the Pope. He spent some time abroad, became a provisional superior in the Society of Jesus in Argentina that July for a 6-year term, which ended in 1979. So that means he was just in charge of all the Jesuit priests in that area. After the completion of his term in office, he was named um, in 1980, he was named by the rector of Philosophical and Theological Faculty of San Miguel. Um, and this is Michelle's really going to want to hear this.
I'm coming. Sorry, I went to go put a shirt on.
So,
I'm comfortable.
he became the rector of Philosophical and Theological Faculty in San Miguel,
Okay.
where he had studied.
Uh,
But before taking up his new appointment, he spent 3 months in Ireland to learn English.
okay, one of the weirdest places that you want to go to learn freaking English.
Yeah, so
They don't speak
he
English that great.
yeah he spent 3 months in England. He then served at
England
San
and
Miguel.
Ireland.
Huh?
In Ireland?
In Ireland, yes.
Okay.
He learned it in Ireland. And then he
I mean, I give them credit. They do English pretty well. But when you live somewhere for so long, I mean, I've been told that if we ever want to visit there, if we attempt to try to speak the language that's over there, like the lingo or whatever, what their language is, they appreciate that you try. I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna butcher it.
yeah. Then he served at San Miguel for 6 years until 1986, when, at the discretion of his Jesuit superior, Peter Hans Kolvenbach, he was replaced by someone more in tune with the worldwide trend in the
Hmm.
Society of Jesus toward emphasizing social justice rather than his emphasis on popular religiosity and direct pastoral work. So basically, they replaced him with somebody who was more for social justice and not as hands on as him.
Okay.
Um, he then returned to Argentina earlier than expected, served as a confessor and spiritual director to the Jesuit community. He was mentored by a Ukrainian Greek Catholic priest. And then in 1992,
Hmm.
he was asked to not live in Jesuit residencies due to ongoing tensions with leaders and scholars, concerns about his dissent, views on Catholic orthodoxy, not opposing liberation theology, and his role as auxiliary bishop of Buenos Aires. So basically, he was like the secondary bishop.
Yeah.
And Jesuits are often told not to take positions of power.
Yeah.
Because you can't really, in their mind, you can't live a poor life. You can't live a humble life if you're in a position of power.
Oh, okay.
So they had asked him to see because
Hi,
this
Thomas.
was hi. This was during the time that liberation theology was getting really popular in South America. Liberation theology in the Catholic Church is the new progressive way of teaching in the Catholic Church compared to the super conservative, where the priest is at the head of everything and you have to do what the priest says and you have to follow him. No matter what he says, his word is next to God's word, right?
Mm-hmm.
Liberation theology has a whole different way of practicing. Liberation theology was started in South America when there was a lot of dictatorships,
Yeah.
and it was started amongst the poor. It was the priests there would teach about giving to the poor, helping the poor, but also because they were fighting dictators during this time period,
Mm-hmm.
you often actually see, if you look up right now, guerrilla warfare Jesus, you will see pictures. They made pictures of Jesus holding guns because in their idea is you cannot fully practice Catholicism if you are not if you are oppressing people.
Okay.
If there is a form of oppression, it is not true Catholicism. So the way that the priests also taught with liberation theology was really new and exciting.
Mm-hmm.
Because so after the priest reads the homily, he reads the gospel, he gives his homily. And most of the time when priests gave their homily, they would just sit at the pulpit and speak down to the people. This is what you need to do, A, B, C, and D, right?
Mm-hmm.
In liberation theology, they would sit down with the people because they often had their mouses outside. They would sit on the floor with them and be like, okay, so this is what today's gospel was.
So they get to their eye level.
Get to their eye level and they go, this is what today's gospel meant. And this is what are some ways you can practice the gospel in your day to day life. It was more of a conversation.
So it didn't
was
make him feel like, oh, he's over us, so he overpowers us. He's more to our level to help us understand and doesn't make us feel inferior. He
exactly
makes us feel like we're equal to him as far as being in a church.
exactly.
Cool. Hi, Angela. Hey, look, Angela. We actually have you on our TV in the living room, so we won't miss any of your comments
Yay.
or anybody.
So he became the actual bishop, and he was named the Bishop of Buenos Aires. And as Archbishop of Buenos Aires or Argentina,
She's gonna do that. OMG.
as Archbishop, he established new parishes,
Mhm.
reconstructed the archdiocese, led pro-life efforts, and reformed a commission on divorces. And one of his major initiatives as Archbishop was to increase the church's.
She's trying to take our TV over.
Why?
Because it's Angela. That's why.
Was trying to increase the church's presence in Shantytown,
Yeah.
aka Villa Miserera, which is aka known as the slums of Buenos Aires.
Oh.
So, under his leadership, a number of priests assigned to the work in shantytowns doubled, and he actually visited him himself. And then his work led him to be referred to as the Velero bishop, which translates to the slum bishop.
Oh, okay.
So he was very much practice
Okay.
what you preach. He was very much the poor was where he thrived. And during his early tenure as bishop, he sold the archdiocese bank shares and moved its accounts to regular international banks.
Okay.
This ended the church's high spending habits, which had nearly led to bankruptcy and forced stricter fiscal discipline. Basically, in Argentina, I remember hearing a story that when he became bishop, there was like a bishop who had a priest or something like that had like one of those fancy racing sport cars. And when he found out a bit about it, he demanded that the priest sell it because he had gotten it as being the priest and people had made donations to the church and he had bought it using the donations through the church. And when Francis heard about it, he was like, "No, you sell it and you give it back to the poor."
Oh, wow.
He was not the kind for like
luxurious things.
Yeah, especially again his vows:
Luxurious.
poverty, charity, chastity, helping the poor. So,
So he
and
was the one that was with the brains.
yeah,
That's what I'm gonna call him. He's the one with the brains, and he was the one that had the heart that was giving back to the people, not doing what that guy was doing, making himself look good and like he's rich.
and that was a lot of people have
Why
problems with
everybody
that
loved
in
him.
the yeah, exactly. That's why he was called the slum bishop, because he was with the poor. The poor loved him. He was called the people's pope, because when they would be like, "Okay, we're going to drive through someplace," he was like, "I'll walk." And he'll walk, but he won't walk like in the center of like arm. He'll walk amongst the people. He would walk and he would grab their hands, and if they would ask him to
Oh,
pray, he would pray with them. So he's
cool.
called the people's bishop.
Neat. That's
In
awesome.
2000, he was the only church official to reconcile with Geronimo Podesta, a former bishop who had been suspended as a priest
Yeah.
after opposing the Argentine Revolution military dictatorship in
Mhm.
1972.
Oh wow.
Podesta was one of the founders of liberation theology, and he had been essentially kicked out of the church. And then after he got kicked out of the church, he married somebody, right?
Mhm.
And he also defended his wife, because after he got married, the Vatican started attacking their marriage. And so he basically was like, "Nah, that's wrong. I'm going to defend her." So not only was he one of the only church officials to make peace with Podesto, he also defended Podesto's wife.
Oh wow.
In the same year, Um, Bergoglio said the Argentine Catholic Church needed to put on garments of public penance for the sins committed during the years of dictatorship in the 1970s
Mhm.
during the Dirty War.
Mm.
Because essentially, the church at that time sided with the dictators. They
Mm.
did not side against the dictators, they sided with the dictators, because the dictators held a lot of conservative values.
Yeah.
And the church was like, this will better appease us if we side with them.
Okay.
So Bergoglio regularly celebrated Holy Thursday. So on Holy Thursday, it's the Thursday before Easter. There's a tradition of washing feet.
Right.
Now this is typically done only with men. Some churches did women, but it was almost only with men. Um, he did it in hospitals, jails, retirement homes, and the slums.
Let's be honest. They what? They sided with the
The dictator
dictator
for
for
the
the
fact of
fucking
money.
money.
Yes, exactly.
So
Um,
much easier to read.
It is. So he continued to be the Archbishop of Buenos Aires after his elevation to being a cardinal in 2001. When he was cardinal, he was known for his personal humility.
Now, when they're a cardinal, sorry to cut you off. Now, is it they're a bishop, then a cardinal, then they get after that?
So
How do the
basically,
steps
so
happen
the
with him
steps
being a bit?
go: you're a regular person, so you're you and me.
God.
Um, you're like you and me,
Uh-huh.
regular people.
Okay.
And then you have the next step up from us,
Mhm.
which is nuns and brothers,
Okay.
amongst, so those who are religious, but they don't necessarily they don't have the same power.
So Angela's saying priest, bishop, and cardinal.
Yeah, priest,
Okay.
bishop, cardinal, and then you have the pope. But the pope is technically considered the bishop of Rome. So technically it's like a downgrade, but it's actually an upgrade. It's a
Okay.
weird thing.
All right.
But yeah, so it goes us, brothers, monks, nuns, then you have priests, then you have bishops, then you have cardinals,
Okay.
then you have the pope.
Okay.
Yeah. So was known for his personal humility, doctrinal conservatism,
Mhm.
and commitment to social justice. His simple lifestyle included living in a small apartment rather than an elegant bishop's residence. He used public transportation and cooked his own meals, and that enhanced his reputation of being humble. And then he limited his time to Rome to lightning visits when he was a cardinal.
Okay.
So he would only be there if like absolutely needed, and then he would go back to Argentina.
Superman.
Exactly. Um, when he was elected pope, he changed his name, as all popes do, but he decided to choose a new pope name. And he chose himself to name himself after Francis of Assisi, because he was especially concerned with the well-being of the poor.
Okay.
So that's why people will call him Pope Francis the First,
Hmm.
because he's the first one to choose that name. Hence why you have Pope Benedict the 16th is 15 other people have chosen Benedict.
Maybe that should be a hint. Quit choosing the name Benedict. If
And
you're
then
number 16.
Peter is also super common because he's the first bishop of Rome.
Okay. Sorry.
Yeah.
Deacons.
Deacons, bishops.
Oh, decon. What did I say? Decons.
Deacons. It's deacons.
Deacon, dumbass.
Deacons can be married.
Deacons, priests, bishops, archbishop, then cardinal, then pope. Okay.
Yes.
Being precise.
Yes.
Thank you, Angela.
So he explained that as it was becoming clear during the conclave, because when people are elected pope, essentially, if you've seen the movie Conclave, you'll know. If you're also Catholic, you know this. You basically, as a cardinal, you get locked down. You get locked down into a building, and you just vote. You're not allowed to leave. You're not allowed to go home. If you eat, you will go out and you eat in a certain eating hall.
Okay.
You come back into that room, you sleep in certain quarters, you don't leave until there is a new pope elected.
Oh, jeez. Deacons are volunteer, not.
Yeah, not gone to the seminary.
Oh, okay.
Um,
Yep, after the mourning period,
they get conclaved.
Wow.
And then every time they vote, if they don't find the pope, they don't vote and nobody votes on it's not a unanimous vote, they put black smoke up in the air. And then they vote again, and then they put white.
Been locked up. Let me out. Let me out. I'm stuck
I
in
think
your pocket.
the election time for Pope Francis was like 9 days. I'm not sure. It was a while before
So if they don't get a unanimous vote, black smoke.
Black smoke. When they finally elect the Pope,
red,
white.
White.
They change the smoke to white. So basically, you will see me sitting here watching a YouTube video, just a live video of the Roman thing, and it'll just be like, "Oh, it's black smoke. It's white smoke.
They got it.
They voted on it." No.
It's just white and black smoke.
Yeah, white and black smoke.
Okay. I'm learning a lot.
So the Brazilian cardinal actually embraced him when it was becoming clear that he was going to become nominated as bishop, as the cardinal, not cardinal, the pope.
Yeah.
He said, "Don't forget the poor," which made him think of Francis. And so that's why he chose it, saying he brought Christianity an idea of poverty against the luxury, pride, vanity, and the civil ecclesiastical powers of time. He changed history.
Nice.
So that's something he wanted to embody in his popehood, which he did.
Obviously, if he's willing to, go through everything that he's gone through just to get where he was
Oh,
at.
and when he was pope, he made Francis was one day. Okay, yeah, it was one day. They didn't want to be locked up. I know one time it took a month. If I am correct, one time it took a month because it was wild. I think this was also during the time period they had 3 people claiming to be pope.
Oh, jeez.
It was wild. Catholic history is some of the funniest thing you'll ever find.
My sisters are Catholic.
So Francis was the first Jesuit pope.
Okay.
So this was significant because sometimes there was a tense relationship between the Jesuits and the Pope.
Can you tell everybody what a Jesuit, what you just said?
Jesuit Pope is Jesuit priest is 13th century. Jesuit priest is 3 years to vote for one. Yes.
Cheese and crackers, man.
Yeah, they were kind of stuck in a room with each other. I think they hated each other.
They probably did.
So Jesuits are the priests that take vows of poverty, chastity, of missioning and all that other stuff. They are the ones who keep to a community.
Okay.
They're the ones who you typically don't find them as bishops. He's the first pope. You don't find them in positions of power because if they're in positions of power, there's often the idea that with power comes wealth. And they're very much against the idea of having that wealth.
Oh, okay.
So there's always that kind of tension because also sometimes they didn't always agree because Jesuits are very doctrinally conservative. So when it comes to the doctrine, they're like, this is the doctrine. You follow the doctrine. But also they did not agree like in the past with the church when it came to money and stuff. The Jesuits came around a lot. Jesuits came around in like the early parts of the church when the church was profiting. This when they were selling confessions. You give me gold and I'll forgive your sins. Things like that. So it was very much, I give up all my wealth.
Oh, okay.
And I think Francis was the first Jesuit. I think he made the Jesuit order.
Okay.
So he was also the first from the Americas.
Okay. Well, okay.
He's the first pope from the Americas. So he is, all the other popes came from Europe.
Okay.
And he's not the first, many media reported him being the first non-European pope, but there was one in the 11th century, Pope Gregory III from Syria, who died in 741. So he wasn't the first non-European one, but he was the first one from the Americas.
Oh, okay.
Francis's manner was less formal than that of his immediate predecessors.
Yeah.
A style that news coverage referred to as no frills, noting that it is his common touch and accessibility that is proving the greatest inspiration. On the night of his election, he took a bus back to his hotel with the cardinals rather than being driven in the papal car.
Oh, wow.
The next day, he visited Cardinal Jorge Maria Mejia in the hospital and chatted with patients and staff. He had been elected pope, but he's like, I'm gonna sit and talk with people.
Why not? I mean, he
Fran-
obviously knows he knew what he was doing by.
Yeah. Francis chose not to live in the official papal residency of the Apostolic Palace, but instead remained in the Vatican guest house, in a suite in which he received visitors and held meetings. He was the first pope since Pope Pius X to live outside the papal apartments.
Oh, wow.
And Pope
Francis has placed 80% of the cardinals that will be doing this conclave.
Yeah.
So
the cardinals, so when the cardinals retire, or let's say sometimes
he's put them elsewhere.
He's put the cardinals in position. So basically he promoted people to cardinal. So 80% of the cardinals that are going to be are there because of him.
Nice.
Yeah. So Francis would appear at the window of the Apostolic Palace for the Sunday Angelus. And as a Jesuit pope, Francis made clear that a fundamental task of the faithful is not so much to follow rules.
Okay, so 80% of them are aligned with his ways of working. Okay.
Yeah, so most likely they're going to vote in a way that's very much. So for, as a Jesuit pope, Francis made clear that a fundamental task of the faithful was not so much to follow rules, but to discern what God is calling them to do.
Okay.
He altered the culture of the clergy, steering away from what he named clericalism, which dwells on priestly status and authority. Remember that priests are the word of God and they can do no wrong. He steered away from that and worked towards an ethic of service. Francis says that the church shepherds must have the smell of the sheep, always staying close to the people of God.
Okay.
So instead of being, I'm God. Is it opened?
Yeah. As long as she doesn't dig at it or anything, she'd be okay.
Basically stay close to what God wants you to be.
Yeah.
So some of the things he did as Pope, which a lot of conservative Catholics found controversial.
Oh, wow.
I will actually find that a lot of conservative Catholics said that he was the Antichrist.
Okay.
That he was the end of the church. So when he became Pope, he actually abolished the bonuses paid to Vatican employees upon the election of a new Pope, amounting to several million euros, opting instead to donate the money to charity.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And then he abolished the 25,000 pound annual bonus paid to cardinals serving on the board of supervisors for the Vatican Bank.
Okay.
So gave more money to charity.
Nice.
On April 13th, 2013, Francis named 8 cardinals to a new council of cardinal advisors to advise him on revising the organizational structure of the Roman Church. The group included several known critics of Vatican operations and only one member of the previous organization.
Okay.
And then on the first Holy Thursday following his election, Pope Francis washed and kissed the feet of 10 male and 2 female juvenile offenders imprisoned at Rome's Casal del Marmo detention facility, telling them the ritual of foot washing is a sign that he is at their service. This was the first time that the Pope had included women in the ritual, although he had already done so when he was an archbishop. One of the male and one of the female prisoners were Muslim.
Oh wow. Okay.
He's one of the first popes that like actually had a conversation with Muslims and created that kind of tried to create that branch that
Like
trust. So then on March 13th, 2013, Francis used his first Easter homily to make a plea for world peace, specifically mentioning the Middle East, Africa, North and South Korea. He also spoke out against those who give in to easy gain in a world filled with greed and made a plea for humanity to become a better guardian of creation by protecting the environment. He was very pro like environment. He was
Yeah,
like,
they said that he would speak on climate change and all
oh,
that
he
stuff.
was very much uh we have to do he is actually because of a lot of his teachings, a lot of Catholic schools, Catholic churches have reduced their CO2
Yeah.
emissions and are actually some of them are actually putting out CO2 emissions
Oh nice. Okay.
instead of being in the negative. So he also appointed women and nuns to in places of power in the Vatican that they had never been put in before. And he also put a woman, a nun, as a president of the Vatican. So she handled all the political things in the Vatican.
Okay.
The first, the first one.
Okay.
And then he also gave priests the opportunity to bless gay weddings, something that was seen as terrible to most conservative Catholics. So as a pope, he was more accommodating to the LGBTQ topics than his predecessors. In a July 2013, his televised speech, he said, "Who am I to judge?" The statement was widely reported in the international press,
Right when you said, "Who am I to judge?" She's all, "What?"
became one of his most famous statements on the LGBTQ people. In other statements, Francis had emphasized the need to accept, welcome, and accompany LGBTQ people, including LGBTQ children. Which, when conservative Catholics heard this, they had heart attacks.
Well, I bet. I bet. I mean, he's the first one to say something, isn't he?
Yeah. And those who had said something before him said that that wasn't something they could do.
Mm.
He did say marriage is between a man and a woman.
Right.
And he was like, that is what marriage is. That is, the church cannot change its definition on that.
Yeah.
But we can give you a blessing for the marriage. We can't give you the marriage, but we can give you a blessing
Yeah, we
for it.
can't. Yeah.
And that's what when people say he was doctrinally conservative, that's what they mean. Very much when he gave his teachings, he did things in a very like social justice, caring for the environment, all of this other stuff.
Yeah.
But he was also very much, this is what the church says, this is what the doctrine says, we follow the doctrine.
Okay.
So, in recent years, he openly criticized countries that mistreated migrants and the poor, calling on them to treat them better and have compassion for them. He was called the People's Pope because, unlike his predecessors, he would try as much as possible to not use the Pope mobile but walk amongst the crowds to shake hands and pray with people. He was often seen as a progressive priest because his views were so different from his predecessors. And fun fact, he never owned a cell phone or a computer. And so he mostly used a landline. And he used one of his employees or somebody near him's phone to make an Instagram account. He was the first pope to have an Instagram account.
Oh wow.
And
But I bet they monitored that too.
he broke records after having gained 1 million followers in under 12 hours from the account being set up.
Way to go, Pope Prince. Yep, there you go, man.
He also became
That's
the
cool.
first pope to write an op-ed in the New York Times addressing issues such as COVID-19 restrictions on public gatherings and the need for global solidarity. People got confused because he was like, okay, cool, we can't do the whole like gathering outside. But he was very upset when dioceses said no more masses. And the reason he was upset wasn't because there were going to be no more masses. He was like, you cannot leave people alone. People need to be with people. There needs to be something we can do
There needs to be some type of gathering so people aren't
alone. And that was his concern. And he referred to it as a dark time that was, and he was like, you cannot leave people alone. And he was also concerned because there was nobody helping, there was no one being in the community. He was like,
Yeah.
you cannot leave the poor alone too.
Yeah, because they're going to be.
Yeah. So it wasn't him being like, oh no, don't stop going to church. It was, don't leave people alone. This is a bad thing.
Yeah, I mean, right when it hit,
Yeah.
it affected the whole entire world.
Yeah, because I think the Vatican was on a complete and total lockdown as well. So on
And
his
with his
last,
health issues at that time, or
yeah,
his health,
yeah,
I could see where they're like, yeah, you ain't doing nothing.
yeah, and he wasn't really concerned about his health. He was concerned with everybody else's. He also said that getting the COVID vaccine was a was something that you had to do.
Yeah.
He didn't say it was like, like if you didn't do it, it was a sin, but he basically said it is your responsibility to help take care of your brothers and sisters, and one of the ways you can do it is getting vaccinated.
Mm.
He was also very much, if you need to wear a mask, you have to wear a mask. That is the way it is.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of what his teachings were. On his last day, he actually gave a surprise blessing on Easter Sunday. So they were not expecting him to go out to the balcony and give a blessing over the people on Easter. They were going to have somebody else do it. And he stood up and he gave it. And then he also, because he was in a wheelchair, he couldn't go out and walk amongst the crowd. So they put him in the Pope Mobile. And he was waving around
everybody.
and saying hi to people. And then he passed away at 7:35 Central European Summertime. So the Pope's death begins a papal interregnum, which is a 9-day period of mourning. Um, so for 9 days, the church can't do nothing. The church is like, you can celebrate your masses to celebrate him. It is very much there's no,
Yeah.
it's a quiet period. It's a time of mourning. And then the funeral by tradition takes place within 4 to 6 days of the Pope's death. And then his spiritual testament, dated June 29th, 2022, revealed he wanted to be buried at the Basilica of Santa Maria Maggiore. Instead of St. Peter's Basilicas, where most popes go when they die, they're buried in St. Peter's Basilica. He decided not to. He decided to go with the Santa Maria Maggiore.
Okay.
Which is a basilica in Rome. But it's one of the smaller ones. And so after that 9 days, cardinal electors will arrive in Rome to attend the Congregation of Cardinals, which will then decide the date and time of the upcoming conclave.
Okay.
So they'll be like, okay, cool, get everything ready, because who knows how long this is going to last.
Hopefully not 3 years.
Yeah, hopefully not 3 years, because I do know they have talked about some of the people who are in the running, and there's 4 people who are in the running.
Yeah.
And by some of their policies I've heard, I don't know if the people that Pope Francis put in power are gonna like them. So,
We'll
yeah,
find out.
that's a little bit about Pope Francis. If it takes a long time, I'll do a little thing about when he's finally elected.
We can do that.
The new Pope.
Yeah, we can do one on the newly elected Pope. And I was going to say that on her thing, I think it was just her scab fell off.
Mm-hmm.
What?
Oh yeah, no. So technically, the only Pope that's still alive, I think, is Pope Benedict the 12th, and that's because he retired, and he gladly gave the mantle over to Pope Francis because he retired. Which a lot of people actually saw his retirement coming, because he visited a saint, Saint Clemens, who was a pope, who also retired from his position of pope.
Yeah.
So a lot of people went, oh, he went to go visit Saint Clemens. I think he's planning on retiring soon.
Oh, okay.
He was praying for intercession on that. So, yeah. But all the other ones have passed away in office. There was that time in the 13th century where there was 3 popes and nobody knew what the frick was going on. Yeah, in the 13th century, they didn't have like a clear way of determining who was pope. So it would be like, oh, the pope said I was going to be the next pope. And then I think it was like in the late 13th century.
Sorry.
Yeah, Benedict is the one there's a lot of.
Hence why stop picking the name.
Yeah. There's a when it came, so in the early church, it would be like the Pope would go, I say you're gonna be the next Pope.
Woo!
Right? And so then that would be how the Pope passed on his popehood.
What?
Hmm.
I know our Lord Jesus will accept the Pope into the holy gates, and I hope that it is nothing but a rejoicing and a blessing, and the Pope, as he enters the gates, sees the incredible wonders of our Lord Jesus Christ in heaven.
Amen. But yeah. So, but like I was saying in the 12th century, would be like, oh, you're Pope. Okay, cool. So when it came down to like, there was one time he was like, he said I was going to be Pope, and then another person was like, no, he said I was going to be Pope, and then another one was like, no, he said I was going to be Pope, and then they were like, we really should get our crap together and find a good one
Who's
to
gonna be a
elect
pope? Instead of acting like teenage
and
kids.
then that's how we get the conclave. Was because they were
So we
like,
gotta now sit in a big somewhere for
now they
so
got
many days.
Now they got to sit on lockdown because too many times people are like, "No, I'm Pope. No, I'm Pope. No, I'm Pope." And then there was even slight battles fought over who was Pope.
What? We're fixing to do the Oklahoma City bombing.
So
Because
that's a little on Pope Francis.
Pope Francis passed away this morning.
Yeah.
Yeah. So now any cardinal under 80 is
Technically,
eligible.
I found out something really cool. It's not true. Anyone, they can have a bishop, a priest, a cardinal can be elected as a pope. Even a clergy person could be elected pope. They never changed that rule.
Okay.
They never changed the
Takes
rule.
15 to 20 days.
Yeah. Yeah. They never.
Accepted it, and they made it.
Yeah. Basically, because they never technically changed the rules that anyone could be pope. It's just always been expected that it's supposed to be a cardinal. It's just tradition at this point that it's a cardinal.
Yeah.
But like, if let's say somebody, yeah,
Let's be honest. It'd be a
cardinal,
cardinal.
yeah.
Yeah.
They're not gonna go either way. But like, let's say there was like a priest that was like super, super, super holy, and like everyone was like, you know what, this priest is on to something. He could potentially become a pope. Is there any priest like that? Not that I'm aware of. So it's gonna be a cardinal.
So this will be a
nuns and priests.
A nun will never be pope.
They never.
Nope, they will never. Doctrinally, it will never happen.
So this will be a to be continued discussion of
Yes,
popehood.
right here.
I will plug in your phone when I'm done. Yeah.
All right, now we're gonna go on to be a much sadder tone. Well, this was sad. Then we got into happy tone, and then
I would say I was 15 when this took place. I was at school when this took place.
Pope Joan.
Joan of Arc. Yeah. Okay. No.
Okay, let's go. Oklahoma City bombing. Hi, Debbie.
Hi, Ma. So I know my mom has sent me some stuff about Oklahoma City bombing.
Oh, there was a female pope. Ah, I guess
She
there
was
was.
Pope for 2 years. Well,
Huh.
we will. That's good to
I
know.
didn't know
You
that.
didn't know that. This is what I like
Probably.
about YouTube and doing lives. You learn things.
You know what?
Okay.
She was a woman, and the Catholic Church don't like women in power.
Well, tough tabukis. That's a new word. Tabukis.
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 Hi, Marie.
Okay, so yes, we are going to sit here and discuss for a little bit of the Oklahoma City bombing. We all know that it happened on April 19th, 1995, which was just a couple days ago of the anniversary. Like I said, how I learned about it, I was going to be 15. I wasn't 15 yet. I'm going to take that back. I was going to be 15, and I was in school, got home, and from my understanding, my stepmom was watching the news and they talked about it on the news. I would and if it's up to you guys. I'll see if I can find the video of the song that Garth Brooks wrote. It's a very moving song. I love the song. That he wrote for what happened. Okay, I'll see if I can find it and I'll put it in the comments below or in the description so everybody can go do the video. A few weeks ago, they were actually doing some not history on it, but they like it was every day, which baffled me because I thought that they would do it last week up until the day of the anniversary. They were showing videos of what happened and what took place. You want attention? Is that what you're trying to get? And so,
You're on her notebook. You know that, right?
yeah, you're gonna have to get off my notebook, baby. Marie, can I have my notebook? Can I have my notebook? All right, hold on.
See,
Sorry.
I had heard about the
Okay.
Oklahoma City bombing because
You can still sit there. It's okay. I have to have this.
my mom, I think during that time period, she was a nurse or something during that time period. But I remember her talking about how she knew people who were close to the bombing or something like that. So
Yeah.
I remember hearing about the Oklahoma City bombing from a young age.
Mhm.
I was always taught about she always would, like, during the time period, she'd be like, oh, let's pray for the little kids during the Oklahoma City bombing. But I didn't learn about all of it and everything that happened until I was doing a criminal justice class, and we were discussing terrorism.
Oh yeah.
And how, like, most terrorism is homegrown and not necessarily out of country terrorism. We just assume
Right.
it's out of country.
Which I'm gonna. Well, you brought that up. I'm just going to go ahead and talk about that part. Is from what I've seen and looked up, researched. I wrote it all out, but no, my hand cramped, so that ain't happening. So I wrote what I could. Okay. But what she's talking about is literally right after this took place and this happened, they were saying it was Islamic people. They went straight to it was Islam, which they didn't wait. They didn't research it. It was the media who was putting that out there.
Immediately.
They put it out there. It's like didn't even give an investigation, nothing,
And
and they just put it out there that it was Islamic people that did this.
and I hate to say it, I think it's because we as Americans, I think it's
Automatically assume it.
we automatically assume, because I think it's difficult for us to wrap our heads around
Somebody doing it
somebody doing it, so we
in
have
the
to
U.S.
make somebody else the bad guy. We have to be like,
Oh,
it's
trust
somebody
me,
else.
this dude is a hole, I'm gonna say it, and you may not like what I'm about to say, but he got what he deserved. I'm gonna say that because for somebody to be that sick, and I'm gonna call him sick because he was. I had an uncle that was a few blocks away in a truck, and when it happened, it blew out his left eardrum. I had a friend of mine who I went to school with. She was a cheerleader at our high school, well, throughout school. Her mom just left the building to get in her car when it happened. So, I have some little tidbits here, okay, of what was said, and then we'll get to numbnuts. So, Oklahoma City bombing, April 19th, 1995, at 9:02. So, whenever this took place, you know, now every year, April 19th, you go silent from 9:01 to 9:02. If you ever get a chance to look up photos of you and Justin had just went there in
I
February,
couldn't even make it through the beginning. I started crying as soon as I walked into it.
and it's I love the memorial. It's a beautiful memorial. It's great. The tree
It's
is
beautiful.
still standing there with nothing on it. It can't grow anything. And the writing is still on the wall. Somebody comes in and they trace back over it to keep the writing on the wall and keep it going because it did a lot of damage.
Yeah.
So here's some more little tidbits. April 13th to April 18th, 1995, McVeigh makes the preparations. He also visited Oklahoma City. He bought a getaway car and rented a Ryder truck within those 5 days. I'm going to try. Mom, you should. I'm going to tell you right now, it's a little pricey. I think it's like between $30 $35 for the thing.
I think it was $15 for me and Justin.
Okay, so if it's two people going,
30,
okay, then it was like
$30 for two people.
Okay, so about $15.
And I'm gonna be honest, when I first went in, the immediate feeling was immediate just sadness. it's a beautiful place to go. I recommend going.
You'll learn a lot from it. They do play the song when you get to certain areas, but I'm going to warn you
Bring tissues.
that because I did the same thing when we got to where the debris and stuff was. I cried all the way through it, and then right when we got to where their stuff was at, rage. I was so mad. But there is a point, and giving you a heads up with this, Mom, because you've not gone. And I had told her if they get to go, beware. You go into a room and you get to hear a recording of people going to the water company to get like a permit. And I'm sitting there and I'm texting my dad because we were there a while back. And I'm texting my dad. He's like, "What are you doing?" So I told him what we're doing. If I would have known, we would have brought him with us so he could go see it too. And my phone, I'm laughing at it now because it scared the crap out of me. Yours, boom. And my phone went, whee. It went flying. I was not expecting that. And so I will just, and you don't know when it's going to happen. So
Yeah, and
you won't know. I can't officially say right at this time it's going to happen, but you will hear a loud boom. And that's when it blew up.
and see, that's the thing. Because she had told me, so I was listening to it and I was like, these people are going about their day-to-day life.
Yep, pretty much.
They are trying to get water permits. They're fighting against this water bill that's going to be passed. They don't like it. They're expressing their concerns. They're being good constituents. And then when I heard the boom, I was like, I think they added something. So they then put on the wall behind it, it then lit up with all of the people who died in that blast.
Yeah, there's like so when you walk in, what she's talking about, when you walk in and they have you go into this room to hear the talking and the recording, there's glass.
Yeah.
And then that's when you
When the
see
boom happens, it lights up with every single person who passed away.
Yep.
And that was just heartbreaking to see.
It
And
scared the crap out of me when I heard it because I wasn't expecting that, and I never heard it because we never lived in Oklahoma City. You never heard it, but for them to have a recording of something like that, I mean,
the fact the recorder survived is amazing. And then
yeah,
the fact they played stuff that happened after it where the person is screaming, everyone out, everyone out.
it's a creepy and sad and emotional. But here's the thing: the one thing I loved that they said in the documentary that they did, he thought it's okay.
It's okay. Tataru is fine. You don't need to
He
defend her
thought
honor.
McVeigh, Terry Nichols, and Michael Fortier, whatever his name is, thought that it was going to bring us down. And I'm saying us as Oklahoma as a state. They thought it was going to bring us down. Well, guess what? I'm going to keep my words nice. You didn't do it. You brought us more together than anything. You think that just because you could do something like this, that you could try to tear a state apart or a city apart? Nice try.
And weren't they also trying to start a race war at the same time?
Oh, we're gonna get to that. Okay, here
Which-
we go. Here comes the fun. Here comes the
Stop
fun.
with the race war stuff,
Okay.
please.
So,
Manson,
on
these dudes.
April 19th, 857. Now, mind you, the Murrah building did have a camera that pointed out to the doors, and they see a truck come up. That's all they see. They don't see it leave, nothing. Okay, so if you pull that video, you can also see it. It says McVeigh arrives at the Murrah Federal Building and parks the Ryder truck in front of the building. Okay. 9:02, and I'm not joking because this is what I found out. A 4,800-pound ammonium nitrate fuel oil bomb exploded. He had it in the back. I'm so proud of myself I could say that word. Because I had to try to say it over and over again in my head. So, governor's office, 30 children were orphaned. 219 children at least lost one parent. 462 people were left homeless. 7,000 people lost their workplace. Okay. Final report, just on the little tidbit, more than 300 buildings in a 48 square block area had property damage. So everybody knows that there was a total of 168. Technically, there was 167. one rescue worker, as I found this on, sorry, I'm going to be going back and forth. Um, it says here a rescue worker was killed after the bombing when debris struck her head, bringing the total to 168. Okay. This remains to be the deadliest act of domestic terrorism in U.S. history. McVeigh, they pretty much, he's a domestic terrorist. That's what they named him. He's a domestic terrorist. I will try to keep this short.
And I
on
also
his
think it's
info.
really sad. We don't teach about the Oklahoma City bombing in schools like we should. We should teach about this.
We did when I was going to school. It
Yeah.
was like in the history books, and that's where it popped up and stuff, but not now.
Yeah, in Arizona, we don't really teach it as much as we should. Like, I always thought that it was a double building, and he had parked and also the way that
like a parking garage.
My mom had made it seem was that he had parked in a parking garage. I didn't realize he had parked on the side of the street, and that's how big the bomb was.
Right in the very front of the building is where he parked.
Yeah, I did not realize
and there were numerous multiple floors. And the documentary that I watched, there's some things that I didn't know. So I forgot the number of kids that were in there. I think they said it would hold 30 to 60 kids, I believe. When it happened, they found a lady that worked there, and there were two little boys, and they were African American kids, little kids, and they found one down the road. Like, I don't know if it had blew him that way or what happened, or he was in the rubble or something. I don't know, but they found one. And the lady that came up, she was like one of the daycare workers, and she goes, "Oh my God, where's his brother?" So his brother is also at the building, right? I mean, there's a lot of kids, and they were like, "This is the only kid we found so far. They haven't found any more." And so they did find his brother. So him and his brother did make it and did survive. They put them both on a stretcher with their feet touching, so they knew, okay, my brother's right there. They're like this, so that way one can calm the other to keep, because one was a little older. Um, there was a woman that popped up on the screen, and I had seen her before. I was like, oh my God, I remember her. Unfortunately, both of her kids never did not make it. And they were young kids. Bill Clinton at this time was president. I will throw that out there. He did come. He did go to Oklahoma City. He did check it out. They even did a service, like a little service for everybody. And he went up to that mom. And he has just pretty much telling her, I have no idea what you're going through, but I feel for you. I feel for your family. I feel for the city. And his words, and I might be misquoting a little bit, or summing it up in my own words. The people that did this will pay. Act of terrorism needs to, no. This is going to be handled and taken care of. Okay, so that's when they come up, and that little getaway car that they had, yeah, he didn't get very far. He got stopped by the Oklahoma troopers because they had it to where they were sitting in certain areas to check everybody. And they show video on the documentary where they showed where they were stationed in certain places. So they pretty much they stopped him. So Timothy James McVeigh, born April 23rd, 68, and he did die on June 11th, 2001 by lethal injection. And yes, Oklahoma still does believe in lethal injection.
But the fun fact about lethal injections now, they can't get the meds to do lethal injections because pharmaceutical companies no longer make them. Hence why, in Arizona, you can choose to die by shooting. Now you can choose to die by firing squad now.
What?
Because just
we're gonna have
the
to do
medication
a segment on that.
And I think also in Arizona they brought back the gas chamber. You can also choose to die by the gas chamber. I think, if I'm not mistaken, those two, simply because pharmaceutical companies have stopped making the lethal injection drug, and that means all lethal injection drugs are expired now. So there's not 100% option of it working.
Oh wow. So he died, and this happened in Indiana. He wasn't in Oklahoma when that took place. He was in Indiana. He's technically from New York, but because they didn't, from what I understand and from what I'm getting and seeing is They didn't have him stay in the Oklahoma prison. Dude would die.
Yeah.
There was no way they were going to stick him there, so they sent him to Indiana. The different names that he had was Tim Tuttle, Daryl Bridges, Robert Kling.
Those are fake names. You can tell they're fake names.
Oh yeah, that's he had different names.
If you're gonna be a criminal, be a smart one. I'm sorry. I'm sick of people being stupid criminals.
Well, his occupations: soldier and security guard.
And I hate to say, in my classes when we talked about domestic terrorism, we did discuss how soldiers are more likely to be brainwashed into domestic terrorism than anything else.
So this guy here,
and that is simply because we don't offer them the necessary, that after they get out of the war, we don't necessarily take care of them. They kind of just get left behind in the system, and that's why they're more prone.
So, as we were saying earlier with the media, they were the ones that made accusations saying that it was an Islamic terrorist, which caused for 2 days a very intense anti-Muslim hysteria. Because media, you just can't get your story straight and shut up. 2 arrests were made. Timothy Mcveigh, who I just said was born April 23rd and died by lethal injection. He was 33. His occupations were a soldier and security guard. His motive is anti-government sentiment, retaliation for the Rudy Ridge, the Waco Siege, other government and other raids that the government has done. So he is anti-government, pretty much. U.S. foreign policy and civilian casualties from U.S. military attacks. Hence, that's why he did it.
So he was saying, "Oh, I'm gonna blow up civilians because we blow up civilians in other countries." Are you stupid?
Apparently. Convictions.
You're just being exactly what you claim to hate.
Yes, pretty much. Convictions: first-degree murder of federal employee, 8 counts. Use of a weapon of mass destruction resulting in death. Conspiracy to use a weapon of mass destruction resulting in death. Destruction by explosives resulting in death. Penalty: death. August 1997 is when he was convicted with a death penalty. God, I can't talk. Accomplices: Terry Nichols and Michael Fortier. Which I will attempt to get to them. I may not. Because pretty much to me, he's the one that did it. Yes, they were the accomplices.
But he's the one
but
who
he's the main person. Details. So here's the details. Like I just said, April 19th, 1995 at 9:02, he blew up the federal building with a Ryder truck and a bomb in back of it. A total of 167 to 168 direct, 1 indirect. That 684 people. It's either they were injured. Yeah, they say, what was the one that was saying about 800? No, approximately 850 people were injured. That's including 19 children.
And I bet you that's probably because the number might be higher than that original number.
Yeah.
Is because some people didn't realize, like, they lost hearing in an ear, or they didn't realize something until later on.
Yeah. His military career, he was in the United States U.S. Army from 1988 to 1991. He was promoted from the rank that he was up to a sergeant, and he was also in the Gulf War. He was also sent to, oh my God, what is that one? The Desert Storm. There it is. I was about to say Dust Storm, but it's Desert Storm. He got sent there. So McVeigh was seeking revenge against the U.S. federal government. What triggered it was the Waco Siege in 1993 and the Ruby Ridge incident in 1992.
Which, by the way, very poor handlings by the FBI, but the FBI now has a way of dealing with those incidents because of those incidents. So, while they may have been terrible, the FBI did learn a couple of things about what not to do.
He also expressed his dislike and disapproval for certain FBI agencies, such as the ATF or Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms, the FBI or Federal Bureau of Investigation. He didn't care for their handling of issues regarding private citizens. He was hoping to inspire a revolution against the federal government. How well did that work out for you there, buddy? he defended what he did as a legitimate tactic against what he saw as a, how do you say that, tyrannical government. Can I tell you a quote?
Go ahead.
Okay,
Go
can I
ahead.
tell you? Do you know what he said? Why he did the whole bombing? Besides trying to get what his quote was, and this kind of like it set me off a little bit. Collateral damage.
Oh my God.
Collateral damage. And do you know what he told the families when they went to watch the lethal injection happen, or because they televised it or whatnot? You know what he said to them?
Don't be something stupid.
Get over it.
Oh my God.
He told them to get over it.
He is a monster.
Yep, he had no remorse, no feelings, no nothing about what he did.
If anything, and I hate
And
to say this, by him being put in prison,
he wouldn't have made it by a night.
he wouldn't have made it by a night, but also
I think a guard would have killed him too.
yeah, but I think also him being in prison proved to himself, it's kind of that mindset of I'm the victim, and then whenever something bad happens to you, go, oh, that makes me the victim again.
Yep.
Even though it was your own doing.
Yeah.
He put himself in that state of mind, and then when he went to jail for it, he was like, oh look, a tyrannical government threw me in jail for expressing my beliefs. No, you went to jail because you killed a bunch of people.
168 to be exact. Yep.
168. And also, tyrannical government in the freaking when did this happen?
95.
1995. A tyrannical government in 1990. Bill Clinton as president. Tyrannical government. Yes, Waco did not go so well. They had never dealt with something like that before.
Right.
FBI was also a little new at that time. No, not a little new. First time dealing with something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But to say it was a tyrannical government.
I told you. There's a couple quotes. I haven't even read the letter yet.
I see why they didn't teach us this in my criminal justice class. Because every single criminal justice student
would be flipping their crap.
On no matter what party line that they would be sitting on, would have been losing their mind.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because we would have heated debates in those classes based off of.
Yeah.
But I know every single person in that class would have been losing their mind during this time period because that is such.
Yeah.
We learned about Waco. We learned the shortcomings of Waco.
And mind you, me being 14 at that time, I don't understand the whole side of what happened and what took place. All I know is people were either injured or killed. And then getting to go, because John took me to the Oklahoma City site because I asked if we could go because I had never been. And it was just it's a beautiful memorial. It's wonderful that they did that. What I really like, and I have to say this because I have to do like a little shout out. So when New Kids on the Block were there, Joey McIntyre was down there at the site at night. So when you go, there are big chairs for adults and there are little chairs for kids. And I think he was live, and I was like, oh my God, you're in OKC. Thank you for going and visiting that. That means so much. So I have to give a shout out to Joey McIntyre for going because I thought that was really cool. I haven't seen many people, celebrities, go when they're there visiting or doing other concerts. As far as I know, he was the first one that I've ever seen post go. So that was really cool to see him do that.
And I hate to say this, I think 9/11, basically I think 9/11 took away from the seriousness of this. More people are now focused on 9/11 than necessarily this. Every kid is taught about 9/11.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
I know every kid in my generation was forced, well, not my generation, but my like in 1998, we were forced to watch the news videos, and we were forced to watch no forced. We were told to sit down, and we were like, "Oh, you're gonna watch a movie today." And we were like, "Oh, what movie are we watching?" And then we ended up watching the Twin Towers get hit and people jumping out of the building. So that's a little
traumatizing much.
A little traumatizing.
Yeah, it's horrible.
But we never learned about this. And I feel like this is just as important as 9/11, if not, and I hate to say this, a little bit more important, because while 9/11 we lost a lot of people, this was homegrown. This was domestic. This was one of
Yeah.
us.
Yeah. No, but it wasn't like
Well, it
somebody
wasn't.
from the United States that killed and did the whole plane.
Yeah, it wasn't. We're
Well,
not going to talk
we're
about
not
the
gonna talk about
conspiracy theories.
political crap. Shut
Mm.
up. You don't have a mic. September's not here yet. Okay, give us time.
We're not doing, I hate to say this, we're not doing one on 9/11. I'm too traumatized by 9/11.
So
I've watched too many people jump out of a tower.
Shortly after this all took place and this happened, like I was telling you, they had cops, they had police force stationed in certain areas, and he was arrested shortly after the bombing and indicted on 160 state offenses and 11 federal offenses, which also included the use of a weapon of mass destruction.
Why did they arrest him? Did they figure out it was him, or did they just...
No, I don't remember.
Because, like, if they had...
I read somewhere that when they pulled him over, I don't know if they had like in his thing, it showed when I pulled this up a drawing and then his picture next to it.
Yeah, no, because I
It could have been
remember...
somebody had seen somebody run away from the
I
building.
think they were able to put out the camera footage and saw him walk away.
Yeah.
And then they were like, oh, when you're looking for this person, somebody's like, he was at this hotel. And then he went to the hotel. They broke down the door and they were like, oh, we got the idea who this guy is.
Yeah. So when they stopped him, he was in the car because he was trying to go to Kansas. Yeah, he's trying to escape.
Why are you trying to go to Kansas? Kansas is nice.
So here's a little back history on McVeigh, so we know. Okay. Sorry, I'm fixing this. He's driving me nuts. When he was 10 years old, his parents they divorced. Okay. So he pretty much went and lived with his father in Pendleton, New York. He claimed to be bullied in school. He would sit and imagine.
You were bullied.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
He would sit and imagine how he was going to get back at the bullies for picking on him and being mean.
Oh, so mini school shooter in the making. Okay.
Some people would say he was shy, but others described him as a playful, outgoing child. Where, when he got to the adolescent...
his stories don't line up. If people are like, he's a happy child, how are you now planning on murdering your bullies? That don't add up.
Yeah, it don't. And that's what I kind of thought. I was like, well, wait a minute. You're saying that he's shy, but then you're all saying he's playful.
Bet you he's a psychopath. Bet you he was an early psychopath, or he had antisocial personality disorder.
Probably, because they didn't really go into that.
Yeah.
When he got to his adolescent age, he became withdrawn. So he withdrew from people.
School shooter wannabe.
He had one girlfriend. One.
I feel sorry for
but
her.
Later said he didn't know how to impress girls. Obviously, they weren't together. While in high school, he became interested in computers. He also hacked the government computer system on his Commodore 64. Under the handle name... Guess his handle name.
Please don't tell me it's something stupid.
Please
don't tell me it's his name.
No. The Wanderer.
Oh my god.
That was...
You know what? I can't judge. I can't judge. I was doing research on Silk Roads, and there's a couple of names on there that's
okay.
Just as
gonna
bad.
top this one, huh? His senior year, he was named Most Promising Computer Programmer. His classmates also joked, calling him most talkative, even though he was shy. And until graduation, he had poor grades.
Yeah, I bet you this man had antisocial personality disorder, and because they no longer call people psychopaths or sociopaths, they refer to them as having antisocial personality disorder.
Yeah.
Bet you he had it, because his recollection of things versus their recollection of things is he's making himself the victim, and everyone else is these mean, awful people, when in reality, that's not exactly how the world was going.
No.
And also the fact that he had no empathy towards anybody. Those words of his of "get over it."
Yeah, it's when he never showed any remorse for his crimes, repeatedly telling the families of his victims repeatedly telling the families of his victims to get over it. And yeah, so he has been buried in an undisclosed location. He was
You know
returned
what?
to his family,
That's like
and
H.H. Holmes, them burying him in concrete because he was scared when he was his money. Coward.
okay.
I'm a little heated. I'm sorry.
That's good. Why do you get heated because of stupid crap like this? Because of a numb nuts. McVeigh's grandfather started introducing him to firearms. He would tell people that his wish was to become a gun shop owner. He would even take firearms to school and show them off and impress friends.
If this had happened right now, he would.
He became really interested in gun rights, also known as Second Amendment. He began reading Soldier of the Fortune after high school. Oh, her scab fell off. That's it. There's nothing wrong with it. Just telling you. Sorry. Side note.
Tataru's
He
yeah, the claws are coming out. I'm getting real sassy. I'm sorry.
he did attend Bryant. I'm like, I can't even read my own writing. In Stratton College for a short time before dropping out. After dropping out, he worked as an armored car guard. So like for like one of those people that do the money, like one of those vehicles. Don't look at me like that. I'm just reading the stuff. He was noted by coworkers.
Oh God, no.
You're gonna like this
Oh
one.
God.
He was noted by coworkers to be obsessed with guns. A coworker recalled that McVeigh came to work looking like Pancho Villa. Because he was wearing the bandoliers.
Oh my God.
That's why I said you're gonna like it. That's the nickname they gave it. I'm laughing at the nickname. I ain't laughing at what I'm reading.
Man,
just the fact
if
that
he was alive right now, he would have already shot up the school. I'm just saying.
Thomas laughed out loud. Yeah.
He would have shot up a school, and then he would be.
There's more. You wanted to know. You wanted to know a little bit more. Now we're in the military.
Oh God.
20 years old when he joined the military, enlisted in the U.S. Army, attended basic training and advanced individual training in Fort. I can't read my writing. I'm sorry, guys.
Let me read. Let me try.
It is. Where did it go? Oh, Fort Benning, Georgia. I can't tell if that's a I or something. Spare time, he would read firearms, sniper tactics, and explosive books, like the magazines.
I'm sorry.
McVeigh was reprimanded by the military for purchase. Okay, here comes the fun part. Purchasing a white power T-shirt at a Ku Klux Klan rally, where they were objecting to black servicemen wearing black power T-shirts. I'm going to keep going. Timothy Mcveigh became good friends with Terry Nichols. This is where he met Terry Nichols, who becomes
So you're telling me that the military didn't automatically flag this man as a military person who collected sniper rifles and all this other stuff, had an obsession with guns, was wearing a white power shirt
at a Ku Klux Klan
at
rally.
a Ku Klux Klan rally? How was he not on a watch list? I'm pretty sure, I will say that during my research of the Silk Road and also on the Alpha podcast, I'm pretty sure I got put on a watch list. Like, I'm pretty sure the NSA is watching my computer history.
They're going to be wanting to know why we're doing this. Okay, don't worry. We're going to mellow this out after. Okay, after these, we're going to find some other stuff to talk about. It's just anniversary. Okay, he became friends with Terry Nichols, who was his platoon guide in the military. They both had similar backgrounds about guns, gun collecting, and survivalism. They were both stationed at Fort Riley in Junction City, Kansas, where they also met Michael Fortier, whatever his name is. McVeigh was also categorized as top scoring gunner with an M242 25mm cannon, promoted to sergeant. After promotion, he started assigning undesirable work to black servicemen and used derogatory language.
Oh my God, he was racist.
He was shortly deployed on Operation Desert Storm. McVeigh said that he hit an Iraqi tank
you will know
more
what happens if I
than
disappear.
than 500 yards away.
Where
Okay.
he could what?
That he hit an Iraqi tank more than 500 yards away. That's all I got written down.
Okay, so he was a hella good snipesman.
I think he was in a tank.
Oh.
I think it was a 25 I don't know what that means. I'm
Did
not
you
a
read what Thomas said?
What did Thomas? Hold on. I gotta put my eyeball on. Hang on, Thomas. Old lady trying to. You want to know what happened? It disappears. Yeah, we will.
I got a weird search history after I started this podcast.
Yeah, we're gonna have to mellow this out after the next two or next ones. We might have to space. Well, the next one not gonna be so bad. Well, this one's kind of it's worse too. Besides the whole, I don't think they flag you for that. As long as you ain't looking up how to build
a
stuff,
bomb.
you're all right. Okay.
50 caliber. Yeah, usually it's on a tank.
50 caliber. That's usually. Oh, okay.
So he shot him with it. Okay.
Yeah, it was a M242 25 mm cannon. So
It was
of the Bradley fighting vehicles used by the 1st Infantry Division. It was promoted to sergeant after that. Okay, so that was his. Oh, okay, we're not done. I'm sorry. He also decapitated an Iraqi soldier with a cannon fire from 1,100 yards away. He said he was later shocked to see carnage on the road while leaving Kuwait City.
I'm sorry. He decapitated a man and went, "Oh my gosh, I'm so surprised by the carnage on the road."
Yeah. He did receive several service awards, including Bronze Medal, Star Medal, National Defense Service Medal, Southwest Asia Service Medal, Army Service Ribbon. Can they stop using the word service? It's starting to hurt my mouth. And the Kuwaiti Liberation Medal. They quit using it. McVeigh aspired to join the United States Army Special Forces after returning from the Gulf War. He selected a program but withdrew on the second day of the 21 assessment. Let's see.
So he was
telling other recruits that he had injured his ankle. However, in a letter to his superiors, McVeigh wrote he was not physically ready.
He was not physically ready, and he hurt his ankle. If you're going to be in the special forces, be in the special forces.
There you go.
Wouldn't surprise me.
Racist. So, he was honorably discharged in '91. Well, dang, you didn't have to drop your papers.
I'm angry.
He was discharged. Post military.
Was he discharged with honors, or was he discharged with honors?
It was an honorable discharge.
Okay.
Honorably discharged is what it says. His post-military life. He wrote a letter to the local news complaining about taxes. In '92, he wrote to Lockport Union and Son.
When he was in the military, taxes literally paid his salary, but you know what? That's just me.
So this is what the letter said. I'm going to try to sum it so I don't. Nope. On most medals.
Services on most medals.
Yeah.
Okay, what did he say in his letter?
Taxes are a joke, regardless of what a political candidate promises. They will increase. More taxes are always the answer in government and mismanagement. They mess up, we suffer. Taxes are reaching cataclysmic. Ooh, that's a big word.
You're right. He wouldn't have been chosen
because they look at our social doings.
He could, even if he passed the physical part.
Yeah. And now, no slowdown in sight. Do we have to shed blood to reform current system? I hope it doesn't come to that, but it might. That should be an indication.
Yeah, that is like, and I hate to say it, maybe because we live in a post 9/11 world where we know people are watching our search histories and our like how little things on our phone calls and stuff like that. We expect it, but maybe because back then they didn't have that. That just was like, oh, somebody's just writing a threatening email or writing a threatening letter. We'll just add it to the other pile of threatening letters. And now if somebody writes that, they immediately get visited by like Secret Service. Why are you laughing? Why are you laughing? Please don't tell me he does stupid stuff.
No, but it's kind of funny. Okay, it kind of reminds me of a scene in Forrest Gump where you got shot in the buttocks.
Did he get shot in the butt?
No. I'm sorry for laughing, but it's kind of funny. Okay, so more of it said it is a lie if we tell ourselves that the police can protect us everywhere at all times. Firearm restrictions are bad enough, but now a woman can't even carry mace in her purse. Okay,
When did women ever not be able to carry mace in their purse?
that's just something he's complaining about in the letter. McVeigh later moved with Terry Nichols to Terry Nichols' brother's farm with them in Michigan. While visiting friends, he reported complained about. Sorry. While visiting friends, McVeigh reportedly complained about the army and planted a microchip in his buttock so that the government could keep track of him.
I wish they had kept track of him. Maybe the bombing wouldn't have happened.
Oh my god. Oh, that's what I'm
Why?
laughing
Why
at.
in his butt? I understand the neck. I understand the shoulder. I understand like here because this is really delicate. I understand maybe
But why the
on like your
butt?
chest. Why the butt?
That doesn't make any sense. He ended up working long hours in a dead end job and felt he didn't have a home. He sought romance, but his advances were rejected by a coworker, and he felt nervous around
You know
women.
what? No wonder. I'm glad she rejected him.
He believed that he brought too much pain to his loved ones. He grew angry and frustrated at difficulties in finding a girlfriend. He also took up he had a obsessive gambling issue too, so he took that, and that's one of the things he did because he couldn't find a girlfriend.
Oh, so he started gambling because he couldn't find it.
Oh,
You know what?
it
I'm gonna
gets
keep
worse.
my comments to myself.
And
I'll get
why?
the angry incels in the comment section.
Unable to pay gambling debts, he also took cash advanced and then defaulted on the repayments. He began looking for a state with low taxes so that he could live without heavy government regulation or high taxes. He
If
became
you don't
enraged.
want heavy taxation, move out of the United States. That's all I'm gonna say.
He became enraged when the government told him that he had been overpaid $1,058 while in the army and he had to pay the money back. He wrote an
Okay, that I can understand about.
he wrote an angry letter to the government saying, "Go ahead, take everything I own, take my dignity,
Dignity.
dignity." That's about what came out too. Most are given in the butt. You forgot the other T there, Angela, but we know what you mean. That's funny.
I mean, even aliens, when they put microchips in people, and when people
When
say
they
that they
probe you,
when they when they say, "Oh, there's an alien that microchipped me," they always say they did it in the neck. I mean, come on, be a little bit
yeah,
creative. Be
come on. I
be
mean,
be
he
like.
said butt talks, so I mean, come
And you
on
know
now.
what? I hate to say it. I am lucky no girl dated him because who
No,
knows
no, no.
how he would
Remember,
have
he had a
treated.
girlfriend.
Well, I'm glad like when after he got out of the military because who knows how he would have treated her.
Yeah, true.
So that
So
was a lucky thing for any woman who denied him. Also, can you imagine if a guy came up to you and be like, "There's a tracker in my buttocks. Can you see if there's a tracker in my butt?" Like
no, sir.
the government taxes us too much.
God.
Just I'm just thinking of him having these conversations with women and women being
Yeah.
like, "Okay, I
Yeah.
wish I could have that mace that I guess I was taken
Can't
away from
can't
me."
have it in my purse anymore. So he pretty much tells them, "Go ahead, grow fat and rich while you take everything from me, sucking my tax dollars and property."
Okay, I
Uh,
can kind of
he did introduce his sister to an anti-government literature, but his father had little interest in the views. He moved out of his father's house into an apartment with no phone. Uh, this made it impossible for employers to contact him for overtime assignments. He quit the National Rifle Association of America, believing it was too weak on gun rights. So
he quit the NRA.
he was very pro. He was all
He
about the
said the
Second Amendment.
NRA was too lenient on gun rights.
Too weak. Yeah.
The NRA?
Yeah.
Bruh.
Okay, so now the Waco, Texas thing ties into this as
Okay.
well. Okay. 93,
The most
he drove to, I call it Waco, but we're going to say it properly and call it Waco, Texas,
Waco,
during
Texas.
the Waco siege to show his support. He's
Yeah.
trying to be supportive and be there. Uh, while he was there, he was handing out pro gun right literature and bumper stickers bearing slogans such as, "When guns are outlawed, I will become an outlaw."
How was he not put on a watch list? I'm sorry. Every time you tell me something new, I go, he should have been put on a watch list.
Watch. So he told a student reporter, and I agree with you, he should have been on a watch list too, that their government is afraid of guns,
Where?
is afraid of the guns people. Oh, have because they have. What in the world did she type this? The government is afraid of the guns people have. There it goes. Because they have to have control of the people at all times. So he's saying the government has to have control, and he doesn't like the fact that that's how he feels. Is that the government's trying to control people and the guns that they have. Once you take away the guns, you can do anything to the people. So saying they're not allowed to protect themselves if they need to. You give them an inch, they take a mile. Uh, he believed at this time that they were turning into a socialist government. The government is continually growing bigger and more powerful, and people need to prepare to defend themselves against government control. For 5 months following the Waco siege, oh my God, words, me. McVeigh worked at gun shows and handed out free cards printed with the name and the address of Lon. Oh, he's an FBI sniper. So we're going to call him, yeah. In the hope that somebody in the Patriot movement, sorry, my brain's a little slow, would assassinate the sharpshooter.
Oh my God. Immediately, that man should have either been put on a watch list or nowadays he would have been arrested. And maybe not back in the day, maybe he would have been arrested. He should have been arrested for potentially threatening the life of an FBI agent.
Yeah.
No matter what that FBI agent did.
So this person, I have to think of a nickname for this dude. Is it? Let
me see.
I don't know how to say that.
Lana Horuchi.
Horuchi. Okay. So Lon said Haruchi's actions while an FBI agent have drawn controversy, specifically shooting and killing of Randy Weaver's wife while she held an infant child.
Yeah, that was one of the main reasons that Waco is considered to be the most unsuccessful interaction that the FBI has ever had.
Okay, see, I didn't know that. I mean, we heard about Waco too, but I didn't know that stuff. Maybe they wrote hate mail to him. What goes around comes around is what he wrote to him.
Oh my God.
He later
but
considered
sure
putting aside his plan to target the Murrah building to target this guy instead, or maybe a member of his family instead of the guy or Murrah building. So Murrah building got put on the back burner
because he wanted to
do this instead or try to kill the guy. He became a fixture on the gun circuit, the gun show circuit. He went to all 40 states and visiting about 80 gun shows. He found that further west he went, the more anti-government sentiment he encountered, at least until he got to what he called the People's Socialist Republic of California. McVeigh sold survival items and copies of the Turner Diaries. One author said that at the gun show, McVeigh found a home, though he remained skeptical of what the most extreme ideas being banded around. He liked talking to people about the United Nations, the federal government, and possible threats to American liberty. Okay, and that was his post-military. They came here. They had an atlas, a road atlas, hand-drawn destinations and most likely places for nuclear attacks and considered buying property. And Seligman, Arizona, which he determined the nuclear-free zone.
Yeah, Seligman,
God
Arizona.
damn it.
I think that's an Arizona, a part of Arizona that's more up north.
And he lived with Michael Fortier in Kingsman.
Fun fact: my biological father is from Kingsman.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, no, he's from. Is he? No, he's from Bullhead. Or is it Kingman? I'm not sure. He's dead, so I can't really ask him.
The two became so close that he served as a best man at the wedding, at Fortier's wedding. McVeigh experimented with cannabis and methamphetamines.
You know what? Good for the cannabis, bad for the meth.
Yeah, after first researching their effects in an encyclopedia.
Oh, he did his own research on drugs.
Yep, and he was never interested in the drugs as much as 48 Michael was.
So
And one of the
Michael was.
reasons they parted ways was that McVeigh got tired of Michael's drug habits. That's one smart thing he did. He got away from it.
You know what? If he had maybe stayed with him, maybe the bombing wouldn't have happened.
Well, no, because Michael's also an
Oh
accomplice.
yeah. You know what? I had a little hope. I was like, let's see.
Here comes the fun part. In '93, he headed back. He went back to the farm in Michigan with his roommate Terry
Hey.
Nichols. Okay. In between watching coverage of the Waco siege on TV, Nicholas and his brother began teaching McVeigh how to make explosives
Oh my gosh.
with house. Well, it doesn't list what the chemicals are, so don't worry.
I
That's
do
not
know
gonna get out there.
fertilizer.
Shut up.
What? That's
Trying
the
to get
only
us on the
thing I
watch
know.
list and get banned from YouTube.
No, did I ever tell you about the time at work that somebody ordered like 10 of the 10-pound bags of fertilizer, and I was like, I feel like this is a little fishy.
Red flag, red flag. So they showed him how to make.
Wasn't flagged.
They showed him how to make explosives by
They
combining
actually never
household
picked it up.
chemicals. Oh, well, that's a good thing. In plastic jugs. The destruction of Waco compound enraged him because of everything that happened and took place. He was particularly angered by the government for using CS gas on women and children. Okay, I have a thought on that. You're upset with them using CS gas on women and children, but pardon my language, your dumbass blew up a building with women and children.
What exactly is CS gas?
I'm glad you asked that. Let me click on it. Oh crap! It's a compound.
Let me see.
It's too big of a word. You try and say that.
Oh, a tear gas, which is used as a riot control agent.
And that's all we're going to say on that matter. It's tear gas.
Because it actually has a number 2 in front of it, meaning 2-chlorolite. I can't even.
Yeah, we're not going to say the word because it's too big.
I'm not smart enough to say it.
You're smart. That's a big word. Oh, okay. Because they use the same gas in the military, so he was exposed to it.
Oh.
The disappearance of certain evidence, such as bullet-riddled, still reinforced front door to the complex, led him to suspect a cover-up.
Oh, so because the door was missing. A door was missing. And now we will know what will happen if Michelle disappears.
What? What? Oh, because of what I'm reading, huh? I mean,
hey, if my NASA agent is watching, hi.
Yeah.
I swear we're doing this for the podcast.
It's for the podcast. This is for the history of the Oklahoma City bombing. We're going to put that here numerous times through the video if we have to. Bombing and the history and the anniversary of these poor people, the 168
Please don't
people
make us
that died.
disappear.
We love America. Okay. I honestly don't like guns.
I think like we just, we need some nice.
Give me mace and a baseball bat and a cast iron skillet. I'll be
Oh
happy.
yeah, those are
What does that say?
chlorobenzidine.
Pretty much. I mean, that's not even what we were going to say, but I'll take that.
Yeah, chlorobenzidine. Yeah, that's actually a better way to say it. I didn't even read the word. I was like, that's too big of a word.
I can't even see it because I'm so damn blind. So, after all this, this is so much crap.
Yeah.
I mean, he pretty much what he did is he distanced himself from people too. His really good, his good friend that he had, his devotion to he sent his friend Steve Hodge a 23-page farewell letter.
23 pages?
Yeah, I know. He got that much time on his hands.
That's too much.
And let's see.
I mean,
give
get
me
your
liberty.
emotions out.
Oh, he even quoted some things too from Patrick Henry, such as "Give me liberty" or "Give me death."
That was to be used against a tyrannical English government. Please use it correctly.
Oh, what is else? He began to sell ATF hats riddled with bullet holes and a flare gun that could shoot down an ATF helicopter.
I'm sorry. He's
he's-
still not on a watch list, and he's
he's-
selling flare guns that can shoot down an
No, it's a
18.
hat that is riddled with bullet holes and a flare gun, like a picture of a flare gun that could
Okay.
shoot down a helicopter.
Okay.
And
I
I'm
thought he
trying
was
to sum
selling a
this up
flare
because this is
gun.
a lot. And what else? Oh, videos. He produced videos detailing the government's actions at Waco. He handed out pamphlets with titles such as "U.S. Government Initiates Open Warfare Against American People." Can he just like sum that up into letters? And Waco shootout evokes memory of Warsaw 43. He began changing his answering machine, greeting every couple of weeks. Two various quotes by Patrick Henry's "Give me liberty, give me death." He began experimenting with pipe bombs and other small explosives. Government imposed new firearm restrictions in '94, which McVeigh believed threatened his livelihood. He associated himself with the friend, explaining in detail what each sentence meant to him. McVeigh declared, "Those who betray or subvert the Constitution are guilty of sedition and or treason or domestic enemies and should and will be punished accordingly. It also stands to reason that anyone who oh my God,
Sympathizes?
thank you. How hard time words today with enemy or gives aid or comfort to aid enemy likewise guilty is likewise guilty." So pretty much, do not sympathize with somebody who is an enemy, or don't give aid to somebody
And
who's
he's
done
basically
something.
saying the government and anyone who supports the government that's a majority of the United States.
Yeah, pretty much.
How?
He is.
Keep my mouth shut.
Mind you, this is the letter to his friend. He's also told him that he will uphold and defend the Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic. And that,
the domestic problem.
And I will, because not only did I swear to, but I believe that it's what stands for in every bit of my heart and soul and being. He knows in his heart that he is right in his struggle. He has come to peace with himself. My God and my cause, blood will flow in the streets. Good versus evil, freemen versus socialist wannabe slaves. Pray it is not your blood, my friend. And that's pretty much what he sent his friend.
Blood will run in the streets.
Yeah. So now at this point, him and McVeigh, Nichols and McVeigh, began making bulk purchases of the nitrate and the other item that I will not say. And we already know what it is. For resale to survivalists, since rumors were circulating that the government was preparing to ban it. Here's the plan. I told you.
Well,
you
now I don't think they've.
Look at it. All this, all the way down to here, to accomplices. This is everything for the Oklahoma City. We haven't even got to the damn trial yet. So that's why I'm trying to just read through this and sum up as fast as I can.
I'm sorry, I keep interrupting.
You're fine. Well, it's just there's a lot of information. There's a lot.
And I don't think they've necessarily banned it. I think they just monitor it now. I think like if you buy too much,
they were planning on banning it, so that's why they were bulk buying the two items.
Now you get put on a watch list if you buy too much of it.
Yeah.
If you go to two different stores and buy it at two different stores, you're immediately put on a watch list.
Yeah. So he wrote 2 letters.
So buy your fertilizer at one place.
He declined to participate in 48.
Mm-hmm.
Michael, he declined to participate in the blowing up the federal building. He also told his wife about the plans. So his wife knew exactly what was going to happen and what was going on. McVeigh did 2 letters to the Bureau for the ATF. The first titled Constitutional Defenders and the second ATF Read. He denounced government officials as fascist tyrants and stormtroopers and warned ATF, all you...
Sorry, did you say stormtroopers?
Yes, I did.
Mm-hmm.
Is it tyrannical? That word you said earlier.
Tyrannical?
Thank you. MFers, mother effers, will swing in the wind one day for your treasonous actions against the Constitution of the United States. Remember the Nuremberg war trials. And there's a citation, little numbers.
He compared it to the Holland. Do you know what the Nuremberg trials are?
I'm having a feeling we're going to learn about it later.
The Nuremberg trials are where they put the Nazis on trial for the Holocaust.
Yeah, so he brought that up. Hi, Moo. Hi, there, baby. I'm sorry. Are we getting loud? We're so sorry.
I'm sorry, I'm getting loud. Hold
Lay
on.
down, Mama.
But he just
It's okay.
compared what the government was doing
It's
to
okay.
being Nazis.
Hi, baby. It's okay, baby. Yes. We're okay. He also wrote a letter to recruit a customer named Stephen Colburn. A man with nothing left to lose is a very dangerous man, and his energy, angry, can be focused towards common righteous goals. He is pretty much, and then he asked if you had a family, if you had a wife, if you had kids, would you want to back out the last minute to care for the family? Are you interested in keeping your firearms? So he's just like asking him all these questions. In short, I'm not looking for talkers.
Nazi himself.
He wasn't looking for talkers. He was looking for fighters. And if you are a Fed, think twice. Think twice about Constitution and you are supposedly enforcing. Isn't enforcing freedom an oxymoron? And think twice about catching us with our guard down. You will lose just like Deegan did, and your family will lose. And this is the customer, Stephen Cole, that he sent the letter to. He began announcing that he was progress from the propaganda phase to the action phase. So went from propaganda to action. He wrote to his Michigan friend, I have certain other militant talents that are in short supply and greatly demanded. Let's see. He later said he considered a campaign of individual assassination with eligible targets, including, here's the including, Attorney General Janet Reno. Reno, right? It's Reno, not Reno. Okay, I said her name wrong. I apologize. Judge Walter S. Smith Jr. of the Federal District Court, who handled the Branch David, whatever trial that is, and the Lon Hiruchi, a member of the Federal Bureau of Investigation hostage rescue team, who shot and killed Vicky Weaver. He also wanted Reno to accept full responsibility and deed, not just words. You know what's funny? As I remember that being talked about when this all took place, that he wanted her to take responsibility for things. The assassination seemed to be difficult, but he decided that since federal agents had become soldiers, he should strike at them and their command centers. After the bombing, he was M11th. Oh, okay. About his act and the deaths he caused. And he said in letters to his hometown newspaper, he sometimes wished he had carried out a series of assassinations against police and government officials instead. Okay, I want to go and find. Well, we're going to skip over the Oklahoma City bombing part of it because we already know everything that happened. Okay. Oh, okay. So the bomb did consist of 5,000 pounds of what he mixed.
5,000 pounds.
5,000 pounds. It was 168 people, including children, in the daycare center on the second floor, and injured 684 others. Let's see. McVeigh's biographers, Lou Michael and Dan Herbeck, spoke with McVeigh in interviewing
he doesn't need a biography.
Totaling 75 hours. He said about the victims. To these people in Oklahoma who have lost a loved one, I'm sorry, but it happens every day. You're not the first mother to lose a child or the first grandparent to lose a grandson or a granddaughter. It happens every day somewhere in the world. I am not going to go into that courtroom, curl into a fetal ball, my lord, and cry just because the victims want me to do that.
He has to have no empathy.
None. During the interview in 2000 with Ed Bradley for television magazine News 60 Minutes, Bradley asked McVeigh for his reaction to the deaths of the 19 children. McVeigh said, I thought it was terrible that there were children in the building. So he had no idea. He was pretty much looking for government officials. That's what he was looking for. He
Then
just
do a
wanted,
little bit of better research on your hand, okay?
yeah,
You think
he was,
Oklahoma City is going to have a bunch of federal employees?
yeah.
No,
The federal
you're
employees
wrong.
have children, then they have somewhere to go. Well, now they didn't have anywhere to go. According to, sorry, for the prevention of terrorism, more than 300 buildings in the city were damaged. More than 12,000 volunteers and rescue workers took part in the rescue, recovery, and support operations. Um, let's see. In reference to the theories that McVeigh had assistance from others, he responded with a well known line from a film, A Few Good Men. You can't handle the truth, he added, because the truth is, I blew up the Murrah building, and it isn't, and isn't it kind of scary that one man could wreak this kind of hell?
I don't think he did it because he wanted to be he was anti-government. I think he did it because he wanted his name to be known and forever talked about.
Yep. So the arrest and the trial.
And that just,
Yeah.
suited his agenda more.
Yes, it did. So the arrest and trial, I'm going to kind of go through this quickly too, because we are going to, well, I mean, if we go over the 2 hours, who cares, right? We're doing good. So by tracing the vehicle identification number on the rear axle found on the wreckage, the FBI identified. So that's how they found him. They traced it back to him because when you rent a car, what happens?
Yeah, they take your ID.
They take your ID, they take your information, and now it's in the system. So that's how they found out who rented the truck. That's how they found out that it was him, that they had his identification in the system or
Nice.
on paper. He rented it from Kansas, and the worker at the agency assisted the FBI artist in creating a sketch.
Oh, because security cameras weren't like a big thing.
No, and the security camera that was in the Murrah building was inside the Murrah building.
Well, I
don't know
mean,
if they
for
have it
like
on
the
outside.
rental company,
I
because
don't
they could
know.
have probably, if they had one, they could have pulled it up. But I bet you they didn't.
Remember those aliases?
Yeah.
Robert Kling was the alias that he used to rent the truck. Let's see. And this was at the local Dreamland Motel.
Oh, he just stupid.
Shortly after the bombing, while driving, McVeigh was driving on Interstate, so I-35, in Noble County near Perry, Oklahoma. McVeigh was stopped by State Trooper Charles J. Hanger. Hanger passed McVeigh's yellow 1977 Mercury Marquis. Now, when you go to the memorial and the museum, the car is in there. The car is literally sitting there. They have the car and they put it in there. You will see when you're looking at the car, if you look to your left, there's a big hole that was to the left of that. They left that open. They left it there because they wanted to show the damage and the blowback that happened. Okay. Let's see. He had no license plate. He admitted to the trooper who noticed a bulge under his jacket. He had a gun. The state trooper arrested him for driving without plates and possessing an illegal firearm. That's how he got arrested. McVeigh's concealed weapon permit was not legal in Oklahoma. He was wearing a shirt at the time with the picture of Abraham Lincoln and the motto "Sic semper tyrannis," thus always to tyrants, is what that meant. And the supposed words shouted by who?
John Wilkes Booth.
There you go.
So basically,
After he shot Lincoln.
Yes, let's wear a shirt that let's quote. Let's say, "Oh, we're like the Nuremberg trials, and I'm not a Nazi, but this is Nazi America.
Yep.
No, you're a Nazi, and you didn't want slavery to end. You bastard."
On the back of the shirt, it had a tree with picture of three blood droplets and the Thomas Jefferson quote, "The tree of liberty must be refreshed from time to time with the blood of patriots and tyrants." 3 days later, it was identified as the subject for the nationwide manhunt. Mind you, there were some things said by people as they were bringing him out from where he was at. One of them that stuck out to a lot of people. You hear somebody in the the mass people, that were outside the courthouse in Perry, Oklahoma, you hear baby killer. And that stuck out. Like, you hear it. You can hear it over everybody screaming at him. How dare you? We hope, whatever they were saying, you clearly heard somebody call him a baby killer. And it's like, well, I mean,
They're not wrong.
not wrong. On August 10th,
It's calling. Yeah.
he was indicted for 11 federal counts, which everything that I had discussed earlier. And that was still in 95. On February 20th, 96, they granted a change of venue and ordered that the case be transferred from Oklahoma City to district court in Denver and presided over by District Judge Richard Paul Mash.
Because legally he's supposed to get a fair trial. And if he was in Oklahoma, he wasn't going to get a fair trial.
No, he wasn't.
So they had to give him to another state where he would get a fair trial.
Pretty much.
I hate the legal system sometimes.
Because
sometimes it's so tedious.
You might like this part, though. He instructed his lawyers to use necessity defense, but they ended up not doing so. They would have to prove that that McVeigh was in imminent danger from the government.
Yep.
He argued that did not necessarily mean immediate. They would have argued that his bombing of the Murrah building was a justifiable response to McVeigh believed were the crimes of the U.S. thing. So again, bringing back up the Waco, where the 51-day siege.
Yeah, that's a bad defense.
Yes, it is.
That is a really bad defense.
They didn't do that. There's like, we can't.
Did they do the insanity defense?
Well, we'll find out. He was found guilty on all 11 counts of the federal indictment. I do want to point something out that I did learn while watching this documentary as well. So there's 168 people. That's 168 counts. 168 people died. I'm guessing that they talked to the families and asked about just 8 counts. And they all agreed. They said fine.
Because I think it's kind of like
he's gonna get lethal injection anyway.
I think it's kind of like the Bayou Killer. It's like it's too excessive, so we'll just go with a select number.
And they did. And
we'll put him as his killing.
And I'm not saying that I know what they did only the 8 counts on. I have a feeling it was probably mostly the children too that it would be my guess, but I don't.
If it was 8 counts of federal employees, if 8 counts of murder of a federal employee, right?
That's one of them, yeah.
Is a high. You get like life in prison for the murder of a federal employee.
So here, yes. So here is, although 168 people, including 19 children, were killed in the bombing on April 19th, murder charges were brought against McVeigh for only 8 federal agents.
Yep, because that makes it that no matter what, he'll get the death penalty. Whereas,
they were who was on duty when the bomb destroyed much of the building. So there were 8 federal agents that were on duty when it happened.
Charging him with,
along with 8 counts of murder, was charged with conspiracy to use weapon of mass destruction. The building, Oklahoma City District Attorney Bob Macy said he would file state charges in the other 160 murders after McVeigh's co-defendant Terry Nichols was tried. After the verdict, McVeigh tried to calm his mother by saying, "Think of it this way. When I was in the Army, you didn't see me for years. Think of me that way now, like I'm away in the Army again on assignment for the military." Dude, why would you say that to your mom? You're being put to death. You're getting the death penalty, obviously. On June 13th, the jury recommended that he be sentenced to death. The Department of Justice brought federal charges against McVeigh for causing the deaths of 8 federal officers, leading to a possible death penalty for McVeigh. They could not bring charges against McVeigh for the remaining 168 in the federal court because those deaths fell under the jurisdiction of state of Oklahoma, so they could not do it there. He was convicted and sentenced to death. State of Oklahoma did not file murder charges against him for the other 160 deaths.
Because that would it would essentially cost them extra money. And I hate to say it, states sometimes have to think about their own personal budget.
Yes, they do.
Because they have to now rebuild their state. They have to think about their budget.
Yeah. And then, so incarceration. I'm not going to get into his accomplices because he's the moron that did this stuff. Um, he was so they both were tried. Him and Nichols were both tried. Fortier, I think, got tried, but I don't. I think he just got jail time.
I
I
think he either
believe he
got
got
jail
jail
time
time.
or he got time served.
Yes. So they requested a national televised execution, but it was denied. So they wanted it to be televised so people in Oklahoma could see it.
Yeah,
But they said no, and that's understandable.
they don't
It's
want somebody dying on
yeah,
national TV. That would put set a bad precedent because I think this was also during the 90s when like there was that whole entire like outrage over rap music and what's being aired on TV and
yeah, they did. At USP Florence AdMax, Bay and Nichols were housed in what was known as Bombers Row. So they were in a section where the bombers were with Ted Kaczynski,
the Unabomber? He was in prison with the Unabomber?
Luis Philippe, and Ramizi Youssef, Youssef. Sorry, I might have said that wrong. They were also housed in the same cell block as them. Youssef made frequent unsuccessful attempts to convert McVeigh to Islam. Um, okay, so the day before his execution, he wrote a letter to Buffalo News. I need to find the other letter I was telling you about. I am sorry those people had to lose their lives, but that's the nature of the beast. It's understood going in what the human toll will be. He said that they're if they're turned out to be if they're turned out to be an afterlife, my brain's trying to read it faster than I can say it. He would improvise, adapt, and overcome, noting if there is a hell, then I'll be in good company with all the fighter pilots who also had to bomb innocents to win the war. He also said, I knew I wanted this before it happened. I knew my objective was stated assisted suicide, and when it happens and it's in your face, you just did something you're trying to say should be illegal for medical personnel. That's why I'm waiting because
So
your face is all like I got something.
So first of all, this man is like, "Oh, I'm going to be in hell with all the other fighter pilots." No, you're going to be in hell with the Unabomber. Okay.
Mhm.
First of all, I completely blanked. I forgot that the Unabomber and him were alive around the same time. That's just mind-boggling. Second of all, he's saying you're helping me with state assisted
Ooh.
suicide,
Mhm.
which you say you cannot do for medical purposes, but you're doing it for me.
So here's some positive. Um, well, hi, Marie. He did get lethal injection at 7:14 on June 11th. He is the first person to be executed by the United States federal government since Victor Fayru was executed in Iowa March 15th, 1963. On November 21st, 1997, President Bill Clinton signed a S-923 special legislation introduced by Senator Arlene Specter to bar McVeigh and other veterans convicted of capital crimes from being buried in any military cemetery.
Good.
So he was cremated. The remains will remain privileged forever, so nobody knows.
I think that is a coward's way out. I'm sorry. If you can do something terrible to somebody, in your death, you can handle something terrible happening to your body.
And yeah, and well,
You can handle somebody writing poor words on your tombstone or tearing apart your tombstone or tearing it down or ripping it out. You can handle that. They're
yeah.
dead.
So McVeigh written he considered having them dropped at the site of a memorial, the at the site of the memorial where the building once stood, but decided that that would be too vengeful, too raw, too cold. You think?
He wanted his ashes to be left
He
and
wanted them
dumped
spread.
at the memorial
Yeah.
site.
He expressed willingness to donate organs, but was prohibited from doing so by prison regulations. Psychiatrist John Smith concluded that McVeigh was a decent person who had allowed rage to build up inside him to the point that he had lashed out in one terrible violent act. You know what his IQ was?
Super high.
126. That was his.
He manipulated that doctor. I bet you that man had antisocial personality disorder. I bet you he was a sociopath, if not a psychopath. And he let rage build up in him. No, he finally decided that he was going to do what he'd been probably wanting to do since high school.
Mm,
The planning revenge on his school bullies.
yeah.
The bringing a gun to school every day. I just
So I'm trying to find the one because he did write a letter to the news. Let's see. It says he explains why he bombed the Murrah Federal Building. And this is supposed to be the letter that he sent to Fox News back then. I explain herein why I bombed the building in Oklahoma City. He doesn't explain it for publicity nor seeking to win an argument of right or wrong. I explain so that the record is clear as to my thinking and motivations in bombing the government installation. I chose to bomb a federal building because such an action served more purposes than other options. Foremost, the bombing was a retaliatory strike, a counter attack for oh my god, cumulative, I can't even read, raids and subsequent violence and damage the federal agents had participated in over the preceding years, including but not limited to Waco. From the formation of such units as the FBI's hostage rescue and other assault teams amongst federal agencies during the 80s. Um, Also, with the Waco incident, federal actions grew increasingly materialistic, or yeah, and violent to the point where at Waco, our government, like the Chinese, was deploying tanks against its own citizens.
when did we ever deploy tanks against our own citizens?
Apparently, he's saying during Waco.
We may maybe went during Waco simply because they were heavily armed. They also did not know what they had inside of there.
Well, he pretty much wrote a lot. Knowledge of these multiple and ever more aggressive raids across. No, why are you sending me stuff? Stop it. Raids across the country constitution an identifiable pattern of conduct within and by the federal government and amongst its various agencies. For all intents and purposes, federal agents have become soldiers, and this in quotes, using military training, tactics, techniques, equipment, language, dress, organization, and mindset, and they were escalating their behavior. Therefore, the bombing was also meant as a preemptive or proactive strike against these forces and their command and control centers within the federal building. When an aggressor force continually launches attacks from a particular base of operation, it is sound military strategy to take the fight to the enemy. Additionally, uh, borrowing a page from the U.S. foreign policy, I decided to send a message to a government that was becoming increasingly hostile by bombing a government building and government employees within the building who represent that government. Bombing the Murrah Federal Building was morally and strategically equivalent to the U.S. hitting a government building in Serbia, Iraq, or other nations, based on observations of the policies of my own government. I viewed this action as an acceptable option. From this perspective, what occurred in Oklahoma City was no different than what Americans rain on the heads of others all the time. And subsequently,
He's
my
a coward.
mindset was and is one of the clinical detachments. The bombing of the Murrah building was not personal, no more than when Air Force, Army, Navy, or Marine personnel bomb or launch cruise missiles against government installations and their personnel. I hope this is a clarification applying ample addresses your questions. Sincerely, Timothy J. McVeigh. And apparently there's a part two, which is what deals with you expressing interest in having your execution televised. So that's pretty much just questions that they were asking him, and I don't feel like going through all that.
So he's just a coward who
Mhm.
wanted to do something bad.
All the way backwards.
And
He pretty much did it, and
he has no regrets doing it.
nope, he does not care. He's apparently, I mean, even in him saying, "I'm sorry that there, that there were children in the building."
I'm sorry, this is just me. But if you're going to bomb someplace, you should do a little bit of research into it. If you don't want to hurt innocent children and innocent civilians, you should make sure that there's no innocent children or innocent civilians in it. I'm sorry.
Yeah. So pretty much that sums up everything that happened that we just went through in the 2 hours. 2 hours.
So,
of this.
as I calm down for the rest of the night,
Welcome.
my case next week is also going to have a letter.
Sorry. She's all, what was that? Sorry, Milan.
My case next week is going to also have a letter, but it's not a I'm angry at you kind of letter. It's a was this guy on drugs kind of letter? Who is this man?
What is it that you're doing?
I am doing the Jazz Killer of New Orleans,
Yes.
aka the Axeman of New Orleans. Because he goes by 2 names.
I like Jazz Killer just because it matches the name.
The Jazz Killer of New Orleans is a very, very good name for him.
And what was our discussion the other day? That we were talking about me and New Orleans.
Yeah,
I don't know.
yeah.
What it is.
For whatever reason, she just loves New Orleans. I think you're really gonna like this case.
Never been to New Orleans, and I don't know, the Bayou Strangler. There's just the name. The name is what got me. And then when she's all like the Jazz Killer of New Orleans, I'm like, yep, we should do that one.
Yeah. I think you're really gonna like the Jazz Killer of New Orleans. Because fun fact, it's unsolved.
Oh, I like unsolved. We can try and solve it ourselves.
Well, here's the thing. I will give a list of theories. I'm of course gonna start with the wackiest theory of all.
Okay.
Which I think you're all gonna really love this wacky theory.
Okay.
But yeah, I already did research. I already wrote it out. I also wrote out. You can ask her. All
2
this
more
week,
after this.
I wrote out episode 8, 9, and 10.
And then after we get to episode 10,
11.
When we get to episode 11, it's going to be a Q&A.
So we'll
that
just
you can ask on the podcast, and
Yeah.
you can ask questions. You can make suggestions of who we should talk about next. I will tell you though, when it gets closer to spooky season,
Yeah.
we've got that kind of planned
I
out
want to
too,
do
a
a
little bit.
a case on a woman named Half Hanged Mary.
I'm gonna do mine on October. Well, for October, because of it being Halloween. Mine is going to be Mr. Edgar Allan Poe.
I want to do that, and then I'm thinking of sometime in I think after these 2 ones and the thing. I think I know what I'm gonna do in
It's all right, Mulan. It's just John. It's just Dad.
after the Q&A. I think I'm gonna do the Blackout Ripper.
Ooh. See, we need to Jack the Ripper too.
We're not gonna do Jack the Ripper yet.
No, that's going to be more fall.
That's gonna be more fall, but we're gonna do definitely talk about the Blackout Ripper. I think the Blackout Ripper is like one of those that like nobody really knows about him, but like when you find out about him, you're like, this man is terrifying. He's far more terrifying than Jack the Ripper, and he should be the one who's called the Ripper.
Yeah. So
he was an awful human being.
That's the plan for the next
After
3 videos,
this
right?
man.
What's the next 3 videos?
The next 3 videos.
Videos.
We have the Jazz Killer of New Orleans, Silk Road, and then we have the alpha, the red pill content,
Yes.
alpha male.
I was joking.
High value men.
Was joking yesterday about how we were laughing and cracking jokes about doing what is it? Who said it?
Oh
it was
yeah,
just going to
Who
be an
Said It?
episode of Who Said It, and then we'll say what the quotes are and what it is, and then we're going to say who said it. And it's going to be the most either not obscene, but most ridiculous comments that somebody could say.
Think of.
That you could think of that somebody would possibly say. And that's pretty much we thought about doing that segment. It's gonna be a little bit political, but
Yeah.
not in the sense of where that's where it's gonna just be full
It's
on.
just going to be a bunch of politicians and what's some of the craziest things they've said. I also want to do like a true or false because there's been a couple of times in history that is like wild. Like, I mean, potential fist fights on the Senate floor.
Yeah.
It's been crazy.
Folks, I'm going to be bringing you something soon. Myself and my friend David Hall are going to bring you the adventures of finding UFOs and Bigfoot.
Jeez, that ought to be fun. I'm saying that ought to be fun.
Okay,
Yeah, it'd be
because we are going to be true on this because David Hall, who I've known for over 50 years, and I, when we were young, we were in our backyard, we had put a tent up. That night, we walked, well, I got out of the tent and he got out of the tent and I said, "Do you see that light up there?" But it was right above the Catalina Mountains, literally, like right above it. And at first, of course, my first thing was it's a UFO. I mean, a UFO, excuse me, a helicopter. I go, helicopter, definitely a helicopter. And David kept looking at it. He goes, "Well, why is there no like other lights other than this bright white light?" And again, on a lot of times on helicopters, they have the bright light that's a spotlight. Okay? It was just sitting there above the Catalina Mountains, and we were both like, I don't know, just dumbfounded by it. Because back then, we were both into the Bigfoot theories and all that stuff. And we were going to be the first to find a true and actual Bigfoot. But of course, time went on and it never happened. So, back to this quick story that I'm telling you, we watched the light. We heard jets coming from the Air Force Base, and we noticed that three of the jets were heading towards a mountain. Excuse me, Catalina Mountain, and the light just stood there, and it started glowing a little bit more, and I was like,
Sorry.
what
Smashing me.
is that? What if
Hi.
it's not a helicopter?
We're almost done.
As the jets were almost to it, it went at a speed that I can't explain. It was so fast. It went from one point to another within a second. And the jets, you just see them still coming. But even we're talking F-16 jets. They it was there's no way they could even keep up with it. It went up, and then as it shot across, it stopped at such a quick stop. The G-force alone would have crushed a human being, and then it shot out into space. We watched it as it shot out into space at again a speed no human being could ever travel at. The jets turned around. I would guess that they headed back to Davis Mountain Air Force Base, and David and I realized we had seen something not of this world. So we are going to talk about this, and we're going to bring it to your attention. We are actually planning on taking a trip to Upper California and exploring the California woods to see if we can bring you more information about Bigfoot. And that's all I have to say. I will let these ladies go back to what they're doing. You guys have a wonderful evening.
Which brings up, I want to talk about Mothman.
Oh, jeez.
Have you ever heard of Mothman?
Yes, I have.
I love Mothman. Mothman's my favorite cryptid.
Do that one more to your Halloween.
Yes.
Spooky.
Yes, we'll do the. So we have a little bit of a lineup.
Yeah, we're trying to keep track of it and write it on the board when we come up with it.
Yeah. But
and I've already told her if I have to talk again, I'm going to prepare it a month in advance. So I can make sure that we have.
Sometimes you can ask her. It will take me. I will sit down at 6:00, and I will just sit there and type until 10:00 at night.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Except for the small times I get up and just walk away because I'm so angry.
True, that is true.
But yeah, so that was a fun episode. I'm sorry I talked so much.
You're good. That's the whole point of doing this. Is get you. This is your outlet. Again, this is.
I am still wrapping my hand around the Unabomber.
This is your outlet to get this stuff out, so you can talk about it.
You didn't know about the Unabomber?
No, I knew about. I didn't know that they were They were in the same jail. I didn't know that they were in the same cell block. I know about the Unabomber, but I just didn't know that they put
I might
with
I
the
might do a
Unabomber.
case on Waco because that is an interesting case.
And it ties in with this too. So
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, and a lot of anti-government organizations
and
still cite Waco. It is 2025 and Waco happened in like the 90s, but they still cite Waco as the reason they hate the government. And I'm
yeah,
like,
93, I think they said 90, 92, 93 is when that happened.
I mean, it's
But
been
we're
more
not,
than 20
we
years.
are
And
not antisocial people. Oh yeah, don't forget that either.
yeah,
The
Ruby
Ridge.
Ridge. Yeah, you know, in the early
It might
days,
tie into, who knows, it might tie into Waco there too.
well, they
I
kind
mean,
of do tie into each other because the FBI had never dealt with either of those things before.
No.
And
So-
they kind of were like, what do we do?
yeah. So we will definitely be back here on the next Monday, which is 28th. We're kind of doing this around between starting at a little at 5:30 if something happens to happen that day.
Yeah.
Like today with Pope
Pope
Francis. She had called and asked if she could do something. I was like, yeah, we'll start at 5:30 so she can go ahead and do that.
Because I also think it's kind of important for us to stay up to date.
Yeah. And because I don't watch the news and I don't keep track of that stuff, she does. I don't.
That's depressing.
I'm just not a news watcher because, yeah, you know.
But I don't think you understand. I woke up this morning and I turned on my phone and I just see CNN. Pope dies at 88, and I was like, no. I didn't even get to.
She called me because she'd been crying. So
I didn't even get to like have a good morning to fully wake out of bed. I was still half asleep when I read that. I was like, no, not the Pope.
So we definitely do have a lineup. I mean, she's already got the next 3 weeks covered, 3 Mondays covered.
I was really interested in the topics.
Yeah.
And they are long topics. I will give you that heads up. I think they're like 9 pages each.
Okay. So about the hour and a half, 2 hours. Screwed starting at 30 minutes to 45. We just went straight to 2 hours. We're doing good now. We're on 2.5. Almost 3. Jesus Christ.
You know what? It's been a long day.
So we definitely have a lineup of what's coming up next. I'm still trying to figure out what to do on Wednesdays to kind of pick up a little bit more. I'm still working on trying to get banners. While we were talking, I was thinking about what I can put up here, like for our podcast banners, for like the different seasons and whatnot. Because that's just
Also,
me.
the TV works.
I know the TV works. We finally can see your comments all the way across the room, but we can see them.
I will let you know next week is going to be an interactive one because I'm going to show you our door because there's something that's really important to the case that happens with doors.
Okay.
So be prepared for interactive.
Okay. So get ready to go. But all right, guys, we will definitely see you next Monday around 6 o'clock. Thank you everybody for joining. Thank you, Angela and Thomas, for jumping on here and being our moderators. Not sure, Thomas, if you were able to reach out to TJ or Duck Hunter on YouTube. Just let them know that we miss them and that we know you're always ready.
Yes, we know.
You're usually here before Thomas. But yeah, just let them know that we miss them and hopefully everything is okay on their end because they're my other 2 moderators that haven't been on here in a while. I'm concerned. I don't know what's going on. I just hope they're okay. But we will definitely see you guys next Monday around 6 o'clock, 5:30, 6 o'clock, same time, same YouTube channel. So we will definitely see you guys next week. Love you all. And have a good night. Have a good rest of your work week. All right. Bye.
And don't think about the axe, man.
Yeah, don't. Such a dork. Good night, guys.
Don't think about him. Don't think about